Beloved brothers and sisters in Christ, thank you for joining us for our new edition, a new episode of Friday Nights with Hayr Soorp. Joining us today is our nearest and dearest, Father Pakrat Berjekian, and alongside a new guest, beloved to our panel as well, somebody who, well, we'll go ahead and give him an introduction sooner than later, but Garen Hamamjian, who is joining us from New York. Since this is a more condensed panel, a smaller panel, we wanted to give it the focus that it deserves, because we'll be talking about a topic that is very important to our youth, our church altogether today, and that is pursuing a life in the church, ministry, priesthood, what that kind of looks like for a young person in 2020. But without any further ado, Hayr Soorp, how about we go ahead and get started with a prayer, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Անընդհոր եւ որդվո եւ հոգվույն սրբո ամեն իմաստություն հոր Հիսուս դուր ինձ իմաստություն ըսպարիս խորել եւ խոսել եւ կործել առաջի քո ամենայն ժամ իջար խորհրդոց իփանից եւ իքորձոց փրկիազիս եւ օրմյա քո արարածոց եւ ինձ բազմամեղիս ամեն.
Շնորհակալություն, Hayr Soorp. Let's go ahead and get started without any further ado. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Garen, Deacon Garen. Just a formal introduction, little introduction about who it is that you are, where it is that you come from, where it is that you are, and what it is that you're doing now.
All right, so my name is Garen Hamamjian. I am born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I am a deacon of St. Leon Armenian Cathedral, and just about a week ago, maybe a little over a week ago, I arrived here at St. Nersess Armenian Seminary in Armonk, New York. And I was invited today by Deacon Leva and Hayr Soorp to conduct this informal interview.
Congratulations first, Karen.
Thank you, Hayr Soorp.
We're very excited to have you on this episode of our broadcast. A big reason why is because I think that, oftentimes we see that there are obviously among the Armenians, the church is a very prominent figure, and we see priests, and more so we see priests who are older in age. We don't necessarily always see young people our age who are very involved in the church. That could be for, a number of reasons that we've kind of discussed in past week's episodes. But, we really want to focus this conversation concerning the importance or the value that you found in pursuing the ministry in the Armenian church as a young person growing up in the same day and age as somebody, like myself or anybody else who's been on this series. But let's just start off with the first question of how did you get to this point, sitting in New York and at the Armenian Seminary at St. Nersess?
Well, that's a tough question, and with a really, really long answer. I mean, it had to begin with, since the first grade, our family wasn't particularly very, very religious, but we were Christians. And our parents decided to send me, my brother, and my sister to a Armenian Catholic elementary school. From first through fifth grade, we attended Armenian Sisters Academy in Montrose, California, where we received a Christian education as well as an Armenian education. Since there, they taught us how to pray. They taught us a little bit of theology, our Christian beliefs, and we received an Armenian education as well, as I said, reading, writing, all of that great stuff. And then after that, we went to a secular Armenian private school, a Rosenau Expedibus, where we didn't get much of a religious concentration, faith-based concentration. And it was around high school, when I started high school, where I started asking myself these questions. Oh, is there a God? The common questions that we ask around that age. And there was a time where I was going to lose my faith, and pretty much did. But it was because I grappled with these questions, I found the curiosity to find answers. So I began asking around, talking to different priests, talking to people who I thought were educated in Christianity. And also, as an individual, you should be looking within yourself. So I started reading the Bible around 17 years old, and I wouldn't read anything at that age. Most people know I was a very, very horrible student in high school. I wouldn't read anything. But one of the first books that I picked up was the Bible. And I started reading it, and I began with the Gospel of Matthew. And it changed my life. There are no other words for it. It completely changed my life. The philosophy of love that I found in the Bible that Jesus Christ would preach about just spoke to me. This idea of treating others the way you would want to be treated, loving your neighbor, yourself. These are amazing, beautiful concepts, and truly a philosophy that sets a really logical moral standard, very logical moral standard. The idea if you love someone and if you have love within yourself, there is no way that you could hurt somebody else. There's no way you would want to lie to somebody else. There's no way you would want to hurt anyone in any way. Therefore, you are away from sin. And if sin is what causes us to be away from God, love is what draws us closer to God. And all of this they were just beautiful concepts that changed my life. When I looked at the example of Jesus Christ in the Gospel of Matthew, just the Gospel of Matthew. I'm not even going to begin to talk about the other ones, but just the Gospel of Matthew, the example that we take from Jesus Christ, which is what we all should do when reading the Bible, right? It's beautiful, really exemplary, and a beautiful way to live with love, and that creates a love type of atmosphere, not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. So at 17 years old, I was drawn to that, and I fell in love with reading in general. So I started reading other books related to religion and about other faiths as well, because I was really, really curious. And my faith started to slowly grow by living that example, helping others, loving others. And I found myself wanting to, for some reason, serve the altar. And I was a really shy kid when I was in high school. There was no way that I would do something like that. My cousin at the time, Deacon Narek Kasyan, he was serving the altar, and he was a deacon back then. And he asked me if I wanted to serve the altar, coincidentally. And I said yes. I can't believe until today how I said yes to something like that. I was really shy. But I did fall in love with that faith back then, again, for the examples that I gave. And I said yes, and I started serving at Avak Shabbat. And for anyone that knows about Avak Shabbat, you go to church 4 days in a row, and it's like a quick crash course, a very quick crash course, where I was exposed to so many different aspects of the Armenian church. And I fell in love with the Armenian church. The language, the art, anything that's aesthetically pleasing about it, the music, all of it, the theology that we find in the Sharagans, the history of our church fathers, the poetic nature of the liturgy and all other liturgies, the Jamir Kutuns, everything. I enjoyed all of it, and I fell in love. I fell in love is what it was. It exposed me to different interests. And I wasn't that lazy kid who didn't want to read anything. No, I became curious. I wanted to learn about everything about the church. And that led me to wanting to pursue priesthood. The education and the lifestyle is very attractive for me. And I think everyone should pursue that type of lifestyle. Not priesthood, but a priest type of lifestyle, where you help others grow morally, grow to love one another, and lead them towards the path of God. So I decided to become a priest shortly after. It was a year after. I talked to Father Khajag at the cathedral, where he taught me something really important. Well, the first thing that he did was he asked me a question. He said, "Garen, why do you want to be a priest?" And automatically, I was pressured. That's a tough question to answer at once. But I gave Armonk just a simple answer, a really quick, simple answer. And I said, I love to serve God. And he said, not only do you have to learn how to serve God and to love to serve God, but you have to love and learn to serve the people, which I thought was beautiful. Because not only is being a Christian having a relationship with God, but having a relationship with the people around you. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. And I talked to Sarpazan shortly after, and he gave me guidance throughout the years until I came to this point where after I received my bachelor's, I would come to a seminary to pursue my master's as well as the Armenian church education that comes with it at the seminary here. So try to give it as short answer as possible.
No, that's some answers they deserve the length, and I think that everything that you said, not only is it very valid, applicable to your life, but I'm sure that a lot of young deacons or altar servers, tabirs, whoever they may be, can definitely relate to your words to a certain degree or another. It sounds like the words of Saint Matthew and his holy gospel that we oftentimes read in church or oftentimes read within our homes is something that truly inspired your walk with God, but also your pursuit to ministry. Hayr Soorp, I wanted to ask you now on the other side of things, you who has pursued the seminary, who has not only graduated from the seminary, but has taught in the seminary. Did you find a similar inspiration in the pursuit of the life as a seminarian from the Holy Gospels according to St. Mark, Matthew, Luke, or John?
You see, I attended. I went to Jerusalem when I was 11 years old. It was very small, and back then it was a custom to bringing young kids, train them in the seminary, give them proper education, religious education, simultaneously with proper secondary school education. The curriculum was sort of appropriated to the both of the purposes. So the secret of a seminarian's success is in the recitation, the repetition of the rituals that in Jerusalem especially they take place on daily basis. This is how we learned all the Psalms by heart. This is how we read the Gospels in the church during the hours. Besides that, the life in the seminary in Jerusalem is somehow more burdened and difficult in comparison to the other seminaries. Jerusalem, as you know, it's the place where all the dominical holy places are. And besides that, seminarians have duties and responsibilities to participate in all of the feast days and regular days, morning, afternoon, vespers. All these where their participation was imperative. So reading the Gospels, hearing the Gospels on daily basis is actually another kind of pleasure and satisfaction if you really understand what you are, where you are, and for what purpose you have come. What is your intention in life?
Sure, Hayr Soorp, maybe a follow-up question to that. And, the more that you recited, it sounds like, the more that you heard, the more that, these rituals were repeated over and over, especially from a young age, at the age of 11, I imagine that certain things started to stick from the Gospels or from the Psalms within your heart. These things, maybe I can assume this, but did these things push you even further to pursue, to pursue your priesthood, or maybe affirm your action in pursuing your priesthood? Did you kind of find that to be the case when you were listening and reciting and participating in the sacramental life of the church?
Of course, many they ask me, did you have the calling? I mean, I was 11 years old. What kind of a calling you're talking about? But actually, I can testify that calling is also somehow built in you throughout the years, because the curriculum was a curriculum of 10 years. We studied in the seminary. First 5 years, it was the normal seminary, and then 3 years of enzayaran. Enzayaran means a dedication. Enzayaran, where you receive a higher education in theology, philosophy, and New Testament commentary. So these three are mostly important, where we received all these subjects. We were taught by the patriarch himself and the archbishops. They were authorities back then. If you ask me whether I received all completely 100% during the seminary days, I cannot say that, because our theology, Armenian Apostolic Church theology, is so rich that you cannot even read it or learn it within the scope of the years during the seminary years. But what it makes you, you will define yourself. You will discover yourself and your interests in education, whether in music or theology or other subject, whether also history. All these, you discover them through during those years of at the seminary. So my interest was more historical and theological, and I pursued that even after I graduated from the seminary. I pursued my studies at the Jerusalem Hebrew University, where I started with archaeology, but then I shifted to history and then to Armenian studies, because Armenian studies was my prime interest, where I would define myself much better.
I think that's a great point that you had, Hayr Soorp, concerning the fact that, you don't necessarily always go to the seminary with that pristine, clear calling, but rather it is an outlet for us. It is a place where we can go in order to discover truly what that calling is. A lot of time we feel as though God is knocking on our door, but we don't necessarily know where it is that we should move, where it is that we should shift, how it is that we should pursue or respond to that call. At the very least, we do need to take a certain action in our lives. Well, with all this being said, obviously the life of a seminarian in Jerusalem is different from the life of a seminarian in Echmiadzin, or even in Antelias in Lebanon, or even in New York. So I guess the question here is, Garen, Deacon Garen, you've been in New York for the past week. I know that you've had previous experience with St. Nersess Seminary. What are times like right now, considering the fact that we are amidst the pandemic still? How is this going to affect your curriculum, your experience in the seminary?
Thank you, Deacon Level. They're actually doing an amazing job with, in the midst of this panic. They're doing a really, really good job planning everything. We have sanitation stations at every major building, at every room. We are doing classes online, at least for the first few weeks. As you know, we have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And New York is already tracking us, as in they text us every day and ask us if we have any symptoms. And if we do, they try to send help right away. If not, they just keep checking the next day until the 14 days are up. And they do the same here. They take our temperature every single day before we go into any building, once a day. And then there's, as I said, there's sanitation stations at every main building. Classes here are also online. So at St. Nersess Seminary, you take half your classes at St. Vladimir's Theological Seminary, which is about half an hour away from here. And the other half of the classes will be at St. Nersess here. It will be the Armenian Church concentration. And both of them are online, at least for the first 2 to 3 weeks, because some students come a little later. Aside from that, we have to be wearing masks when we go outside, whenever we're about to eat. Only until we start eating do we have to have a mask on.
So it sounds like it's more or less the same protocol as everywhere else. Hayr Soorp, a question that I had kind of concerning, and Garen, I'm sure maybe you have this question as well. Concerning seminary education. As a young person, Hayr Soorp, somebody who you've already pursued seminary education, but what could you recommend, I guess, to somebody who would like to pursue a seminary education, or maybe has a thought about pursuing it, or is maybe kind of unsure about it? Maybe both of you can kind of speak to this, but Hayr Soorp, considering you've already had that experience, I think that you could probably say something about it.
Once you decide to attend a seminary, once you decide to become or to dedicate your life into the priesthood, so what remains is for you to choose which seminary to go. Now, Deacon Garen chose to go to St. Nersess, but there are other seminaries throughout the world. One is in Jerusalem, Alex and Mary Manoogian Theological Seminary of Jerusalem. The other is in Echmiadzin, Kevorkian, or the Sevan Seminary. The other one is in Lebanon under the Antillas Catholicosate. And the fourth one, we all know, it's the St. Nersess Seminary. Going to a seminary is not only for pursuit of education, of higher education, it's also to be trained into the rituals. So now the rituals are part of the life of a priest. You need to be perfected once you experience all these rituals on a daily basis. Besides that, also receiving proper education in Armenian church history, rituals, theology, and etc. Now, St. Nersess is bound or has a proper agreement with St. Vladimir's University or college, where the St. Nersess seminarians will attend or may attend that. It's a seminary, right? St. Vladimir's. May attend and continue in pursuit of their studies over there. I'm not against foreign universities or seminaries. I still prefer our own seminary. I mean, belonging to the Armenian Apostolic Church. I would rather prefer that everyone who intends to pursue his education for future priesthood, going to Armenia or going to Jerusalem is still preferable. However, we may have the problem is the travels, the problem is the accommodation, the problem is how far you want to be from your living place. but learning in those foreign universities or seminaries, make up your mind and always convince yourself that you are, whatever you're studying, whatever you're learning, first you're learning the systematic way of studying. Once you absorb that and digest the system, the systematic work, it will be easier for you to get back and study your own theology, which is the Armenian Apostolic Church's theology, from the books. And this is how you will be properly informed about the Armenian theology. Because we have differences. I mean, in theology, we have differences, and those differences and those conflicts with the other churches. I mean, when I say the Chalcedonian conflict that we have with the other churches, I mean, the Orthodox and the Catholic and the, those Chalcedonian churches. I don't have any intention to raise the conflict on the surface again, but we have it. So in order to be properly educated about it, you need to read our sources. I wish, and I'm saying that with all my heart, I wish we, throughout all these years, we have had at least piled up a volume or several volumes of sources that truly each person, if he wants to go and learn, instead of going to the libraries, will find it in those volumes. By reading and learning systematically, will understand what is the stance and position of the Armenian Apostolic Church. In those seminaries, unfortunately, we didn't have it. I am sure that there is a theological department in the Yerevan State University, which I welcome it with all my heart, and it was a very good start. Whether it's on that level or not, I have no idea. I'm sure whatever they're doing, and many have studied, many have come out, successful, and they graduated. I wish we had someone who could testify on that, or could inform us about the Department of Theology in the Yerevan State University and about their works. This much I can say.
Thank you, Hayr Soorp. I think that there's definitely a lot of valuable information that you've given to people who are potentially, I'll say it like this, to those who don't know what to consider in pursuing seminary. Let me bring it back to Deacon Garen to kind of close things out. But Garen, what would you suggest to somebody who is on the fence about pursuing seminary education, or even maybe getting started on the altar? Can you say something to somebody out there that is on the fence about this?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say I completely agree with Hayr Soorp. The issue with the American altar server, or the one who wants to become a priest, is it's hard to find a place close by where one could receive education from somewhere that's accredited and where they can get the Armenian education as well. Jerusalem is one of the very few places. Hayr Soorp got education from the seminary over there, and he got education from an accredited establishment like the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, which, by the way, has an amazing Armenian studies program, one of the best in the world. But over here at St. Vladimir's Orthodox Seminary, it's a pan-Orthodox seminary where we receive a general Orthodox theological education, and then we come to St. Nersess and we reinforce the Armenian Orthodox education. For someone who is on the fence whether to go to a seminary or to stay local and try to study at a regular university, I would say that a seminary is definitely the best place to go. It's very difficult, like I said, to find one place where you could receive the Armenian church education and the theological education. Also, not only that, you need what's called a Haygagan Mdnolort, an Armenian atmosphere, which is difficult to find in America. This is a place like that. Jerusalem is amazing. Tilyas, Echmiadzin, these are all great places. Yeah, the Armenian atmosphere is really important, and the discipline that you get here. Every day waking up to do Jamerkutun, to walk and eat together, and then to pray together, do a closing prayer after you're done eating, to walk to class, come back, do an evening Jamerkutun, go and do your studies on your free time. It's the Tastyaragotun that you receive, the discipline. And the lifestyle is really, really important, I think, spiritually for every individual. Seminary is the best place to go, because I was also questioning whether to stay in Los Angeles and study at a regular university and get a theological degree from a Catholic university, and then study Orthodoxy by myself, Armenian Orthodoxy, or come to a seminary where it's everything is accessible. Everything is accessible. We have one of the best educators out here. Professor Roberta Irvin is one of the best Armenologists in the world.
Yes.
We have Father Daniel Sırpazan, Daniel Findikian, who is a Sharaganaket, a liturgical theologist, professional liturgical theologist. We have Maestro Horen, who was a teacher to so many priests and Sırpazans that we have today, including, I believe, Hovnan Sırpazan. And these are all, and then every seminary has their own professionals. It's really a wonderful place to be and a great experience to get. I've only been here for a little over a week. I can't answer all these questions perfectly. I would love to, in the future, when I'm more experienced with the seminary life, to do this again, where I answer questions better. But from what I learned in this week, little weekend, the research before coming here, is that it's a wonderful place to be. It really is. It's the best option.
Well, Deacon Garen, we are absolutely positively rooting for you. At the start of your journey, we are looking forward to seeing the fruits that your education will bring, not only to your family, not only to your local community, but also to the Armenian church across the whole entire world. May God bless all of your studies, especially, and the discipline that will come in, or rather come out of this out of the situation that you're in right now. But thank you, Garen. And one thing I wanted to say too is I think that this will definitely serve as a time capsule for you and for everybody watching to kind of track your progress in the seminary life, to kind of see where you are. Maybe in 6 months, should we check up on you? Maybe in 3 months after your first semester. God knows the main thing is, to have this open dialogue and to share these ideas and thoughts to everybody out there who is kind of thinking about the same things that we're thinking about here. So we really, really appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us today, Deacon Garen. Hayr Soorp, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Yes, first I want to congratulate Deacon Garen for taking that brave step in pursuit of priesthood. That is one of important and courageous decision in your life. I remember when I was a young person like you, I always, after when I became the dean of the seminary, of the Jerusalem seminary, I was 23 years old back then, but then it was obvious for me to recruit young people, not that young, of course, young like teenagers, when 16 or 18 years old, when people would know what they are coming for and what they are pursuing for. So I really congratulate you on that step. You see, seminaries are like monastic centers with discipline, and that discipline once you get it, once you understand it, once you start living it, it will remain with you all the days of your life. Whatever we learn, if we learn truly a discipline, that will be a great success in our lives. Education can be attained throughout the years, but discipline is not that easy. And I'm very happy that you chose to pursue your studies at the St. Nersess Seminary under the proper educators like Dr. Roberta Irvine. She was also my educator back in Jerusalem. I benefited much. So those years, use it as much as you can absorb wisdom and knowledge. Don't take it for granted. Learn and put your heart in it.
Thank you so much, Hayr Soorp.
And besides that, I would really want and wish to continue this discussion. If there are many others from the St. Nersess Seminary would like to join us and make a wider circle, wider panel discussion, I would love that. What do you say, Levon?
I'm for it. If everybody else is for it, I'm for it. We'll definitely continue this conversation. I think there's an array of topics that we could really cover, especially just concerning seminary education and pursuing ministry within the Armenian Church. Garen, I think that you can attest to that, but even more so, probably after a couple months, you'll really be able to.
Hayr Soorp, thank you so much for the kind wishes, the kind words, and for the advice. It's honestly amazing to know that you were a dean when you were my age. It kind of makes me nervous. But yeah, and it was really sweet to find out that Professor Irvin was your educator.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hayr Soorp. Parishnor Devon Sargavak, thank you for inviting me. This was wonderful. It was a great experience for me. I was glad to be here. Thank you so much. You guys are both an inspiration.
May you have a good journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Deacon Garen. Thank you, Hayr Soorp, as well. And thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Friday Nights with Hayr Soorp. Before we go today, it wouldn't be an episode without a prayer led out by Father Pakrat. So, Father Pakrat, without any further ado, please.
In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Christ, guardian of all, may your right hand be upon us day and night, while at home or on a journey, while sleeping and waking, so that we may never be afraid, and have mercy upon us, your creatures, and upon me, a great sinner. Amen.
Amen. Hayr Soorp, շատ շնորհակալություն. Garen Sargavak, շատ merci. Thank you for being on our program. We're looking forward to checking in with you in the next couple of months. And, it's recorded, so we have to do it. We will definitely check up on you and see how things are going. And we invite you, whoever you are out there, a young Armenian who has been watching these episodes these last couple of weeks, to join us, to reach out to us. We invite you to join us concerning these modern day challenges, modern day topics that we discuss in the context of the ancient Armenian Church. So with all that being said, we will see you all next week. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below. And I think the other one is turn on post notifications so you know when it is that we will premiere a new video. Make sure that you catch our badaraks that go live at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on our YouTube page as well. And I think that should be everything. Should there be anything, we will mention it on another episode. But thank you very much, everybody, for watching. God be with you all, and have a great night.